We're going to build an empire. Those are the words of Justin McKennon. Here he is, man. And I think he may do it. He may do it. Justin, welcome, man.
Thanks, man. It's good to be here.
And congratulations, another 400 plus $1,000 coming into the operation for EMA, which is electric magnetic applications. Is that correct?
Electromagnetic
Oh,
application.
Electro. Let me get that
Electro,
straight.
yeah.
Get it right, Krol. Get it right. So, growing in Pittsfield, Massachusetts. Awesome. So, tell me about EMA. And I would think that 90+% of people in Pittsfield and throughout the Berkshires probably don't know exactly what you do. So, what do you do?
So as a company in total, our specialty is electromagnetic effects, hence the name. We got our start in the late 1970s, and almost up until the end of the Cold War, we worked almost exclusively in solving electromagnetic pulse or EMP problems, so nuclear related effects. And then, of course, after the Cold War, there really wasn't quite the nuclear threat that there was. So we kind of had to adapt. And we found that we were really good at solving problems like lightning effects on aircraft, how fields and things interact with complex structures. And that led to us to develop a handful of software tools. We found ourselves solving the same problems over and over. So rather than repeating it each time, we developed tools. And then that kind of grew into what today is our software line of business. We sell a commercial software product that's distributed by Ansys. So Ansys is arguably one of the largest software tools, software sales companies in the entire world. It's called EMA 3D Cable. And that lets people calculate electromagnetic effects on wires and pins and big things like aircraft and wind turbines and that sort of thing. So historically, we've always operated in a consulting basis and then software sales basis around those. We had very little physical property. We have our building out in Lakewood, Colorado, where most of the staff exists. And so this is, what we're doing out here in Pittsfield was not new just for the industry. It's new for us. We don't, all of our tangible assets are computers and brains. I mean, and maybe some whiteboard markers, and that's about it. And so out here, when we first got started, it was, kind of more of the same. We were consulting on the same types of programs, working with our colleagues out in Colorado, and it's really started to take shape and become kind of its own animal there, with all the testing and things that we're going to do here. So our project is, kind of an organic extension of the consulting work that we do. We've worked on Orion, we've worked on many major space launches and programs of that type that we're not allowed to say the names of. And in a consulting basis. And we realized that we have the same problems that the industry does. You were like, man, I want to run a simulation of a satellite and see if it's going to work, but I don't know what numbers to put into it. I kind of got to make them up. And the simulation's only as good as the numbers you put into it, right? You take a guess, it's only as good as how good that guess is. And we thought we could do better. And so what our chamber is going to allow for us to do is to take parts and components and materials and things that are going to go to space, and we'll be able to measure them and see what happens when they're exposed to the types of radiation effects and what have you that they would experience in real life.
So this chamber that we're talking about, we've been talking about this for a while. So where are we in that process? Is the chamber, is it there? Are we working on this? How long are we away from having this in Pittsfield?
So the chamber is physically in the Innovation Center right
Okay.
now. It's a really glorious looking paperweight right now. It can pull vacuum and just kind of sits there. We were very fortunate last year to receive a grant from the National Science Foundation. So we did a ton of development on the chamber and characterization of all the different things that we need for it. And the reason that there's not more in it right now is kind of what this grant that we just received from the state entails, is that a lot of the equipment that we're going to need to do what we want to do with it doesn't exist, or it doesn't exist in a form that we can use it in. So we have to build and develop and design and do all of that work here in Pittsfield and procure them. And as a result of that, we found out that other people have interest in the same types of stuff that we're doing. And so that kind of turns us into a low volume, high value manufacturer of sorts there, which really caught the eye of the state.
And for the layperson in this situation, the chamber, from what I understand, replicates what it's like in space. Is that correct?
Yeah. So in space, you have no pressure almost. I mean, it's a vacuum. And so we produce a representative vacuum. So we suck all the air out of the chamber, and we have sources that produce electrons. So if you think of like an old style light bulb, you run current through a little wire and they boil off electrons in the form of heat, and that creates light. And so we're doing a kind of a variant of that inside of our chamber in many different ways. And so by changing the energies of the electrons, it can replicate different environments. And we know what those environments are. NASA and the scientific community have studied those for a long time. So if you want to go to the moon, depending on what part of the moon you are, you have these 3 flavors or 10 flavors of electrons and different particles. So that's kind of the purpose of the chamber. So the chamber just pulls vacuum, and then we have these guns that'll be on the end of it there, and they really do look like guns. If you've ever played Halo or anything like that, that's what a lot of them look like. We'll be getting our first big one, the big electron gun, in the next couple weeks here. So we're really excited for that too.
Pretty awesome. Pretty awesome. So it looks like, there's good operation, there's funding for it. There's a market for it, obviously, really important in this. So what does this look like for Pittsfield? How many employees? And then, we've been having this conversation, Justin, especially since COVID, about a company's ability to employ people and have them work from home. It seems to me that in your business, people kind of have to be there, and so which is helpful, to the community, because it makes sure that employees who are working for you are actually in the community, but also can be more challenging, I'm sure, for you to find qualified workers. So tell me about what it's like for you on that end.
So right now we have 4 employees here in Pittsfield. We have a couple open positions that we're seeing exactly what you just described there. There's not a lot of places that you can come out of school with the types of skills that a job at EMA would require. And we know that. And so we get lucky and we find senior people that are looking to, move careers sometimes, and we poach them. That's how I joined EMA back in the day. And when you find somebody that's entry level there, we have kind of the understanding that we're going to have to teach them most of what they know. So it's more of like an attitude rather than skill set thing, and a personality characteristic there. So we've got prospects, and we're still looking. So we're hopeful to add 1 or 2 more people this summer. And, as the lab spins up, I mean, these are just their projections, but we certainly anticipate growing a lot more than that. And I think you said it well, that if you're going to work in the lab, you kind of have to be in the lab to do that. So we're certainly a very good blend of hands-on and remote stuff. If we're, doing simulations or, taking meetings or something like that, yeah, you can do that from anywhere there, but you can't really test from your house. That doesn't work too good.
Right, exactly. So as far as the recruitment, and as you grow, and I think we talked about this even when you were before the council, when that initial amount of money came in, and being able to recruit people. I mean, you're a younger guy, because I don't think you were there in the 70s when we were. There's a long history.
I wasn't doing much then.
But when it comes down to it, yeah, I mean, you have moved, you and your family, here to the Berkshires and Pittsfield, and I think you're a true believer in the Berkshires. So, what are some of the things I think that we need to do, to get those talented employees to choose the Berkshires? I think we have a lot going, especially with cost of living compared to some larger areas. But there's also some opportunities, I think, as well.
Yeah, no, I think you said it well there. I'm also on the board of the Innovation Center here, so I definitely have a lot of skin in the game here to try to help the area however I can. And one of the things that I think the Innovation Center plays in terms of a role and how we see things moving is, one, figuring out what it actually is itself. And we've learned a lot through COVID that if the building is only going to be a building, then we're really not going to meet the purpose of it out there. And we also have identified that there's a huge, I guess, lack of understanding between, people graduating high school and people that have careers out here and what else is out there. So from a standpoint of creating visibility, you see EMA in the news and you're like, oh, wow, I didn't realize that those types of opportunities were out there. I've probably done 8 of these interviews since Wednesday. We're going to be on Bloomberg on Monday. So that's kind of at the national level. We were on Spectrum the other night. Yeah, it's pretty cool. I can't believe people want to listen to me talk.
The John Krol show is always like a step just below Bloomberg. So
yeah, it's a building block, right? So it's the visibility is certainly helping with all of that stuff, and a lot of the customers that we're that we talk to and work with there. If we're just doing consulting and simulation, we probably would have to go to their facility to talk to them. They're probably not going to come out here in many cases. But with the testing, it's so new and it's so rare, and people just kind of assume you can't do it, that it just has that novelty to it right now. And so that's going to be, I'm not going to say we're going to bring thousands of people in, right away. Maybe, when the empire's up and running, that'll be the case. But, we're going to be bringing people that are important in a lot of programs that probably, one, don't know what the Berkshires is or have ever been here, but two, they're going to see all the other peripheral stuff like you mentioned there. And if there's a scenario in which a lot of the development work here really leads to some transformational, new materials and things like that, where there's entire supply chains that could
Mm,
find it more convenient to move out this way that probably
right.
wouldn't. And I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, 100%. When you have a niche and when you're super innovative, there's a halo effect to
Yeah.
the other. And I think that's that critical mass is always an opportunity, and it's with innovation, which of course is the middle name of the BIC, which is appropriate. So Justin McKennon, a great pleasure, man. How can people just learn more about your business? If people have people who may be interested in applying for positions there that may be open, how can people get in touch with you?
Sure. We're super active on LinkedIn. Electromagnetic Applications is our LinkedIn page. So we always try to post what we have going on there. We do lots of webinars, and we're cooking up some new projects with the Innovation Center here that we'll keep secret for now. You'll get to learn a little bit more and see some other sides of what the company does out here. For anything to do with career opportunities, we do post jobs there, but we're always looking for the right people. So if anybody has an interest in the types of things that we do, so that's electrical engineering related, or airplanes or satellites or submarines or whatever it is, I mean, feel free to reach out. You can do so on LinkedIn. You can email me at justin@ema3d.com, or just find me any other way. I'm always around town.
All right, Justin McKennon, a great pleasure. Keep up the good work. I want to keep seeing you in the news for all that good stuff. Keep it up. We got some great opportunities ahead.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it.